Is Russia an ally or an enemy for Beijing? The U.S. has a growing strategic interest in this question. An analyst dissects the issue for us. NTD's Penny Zhou has the details.
In a recent interview with Fox News, former President Donald Trump said the U.S. should try to get along with Russia instead of forcing Russia to partner up with Communist China.
The worst thing you could do is put China and Russia together, and they're together, and they get forced together. The Russian hoax was very, very bad for the relationship that we would have with Russia. But
the comment came as Russia's military buildup in Crimea alerted the West. Meanwhile, the CCP is sending record number of bombers and fighters into Taiwan's air defense zone. An analyst says if the U.S. doesn't want to fight an extremely difficult two-front war, it needs to figure out a strategy, and Trump's comment reflects an important strategic judgment.
The relationship between China and Russia has always had an appearance of unity. They are divided at heart.
He notes the ideological differences, distrust, and previous territorial disputes between Russia and China. And during the U.S.-China trade war, Russian leader Vladimir Putin publicly declared he won't choose a side. He cited a Chinese proverb, "When tigers fight in the valley, the smart monkey sits aside and waits to see who wins."
If the U.S. can remedy its relationship with Russia, it will be a powerful tool to counter the Chinese Communist Party and isolate it. But if the administration puts harsh sanctions on Russia, it will unavoidably push Russia to the side of Beijing and tie the two together. The U.S. would be creating an enemy for itself.
Tang says the threats posed by Russia and the Chinese regime are also different.
Russia is definitely not a democracy. But so far, we haven't seen it trying to expand and export its ideology or try to challenge the world order. It does not have the motivation, nor does it have the ability.
Russia's economy is not doing so well. Its national GDP roughly equals that of just one province in China, while China's GDP is second only to the U.S.
No matter how tough Russia is, it won't lose its senses and actively attack NATO and start a world war. I don't think this will happen no matter how crazy Putin is. One fundamental reason for its recent military action is to stop Ukraine from joining NATO, to stop NATO from expanding eastward. In a strategic sense, Russia is on the defense.
But he believes Beijing is a different story.
Communist China has a huge economy, and the CCP has ambitions. It wants to surpass the U.S. and is already actively laying out and acting out its plans to do so. The regime wants to export its totalitarian system to the world. In this sense, it's a bigger threat than Russia.
Tang goes on to say if the CCP successfully annexes Taiwan by force, its warship can enter the Pacific Ocean freely and threaten U.S. territories in the Western Pacific. Ballistic missiles from its submarines may be able to strike the U.S. continent. Therefore, Tang stresses that the U.S. needs to figure out the delicate balance between dealing with Russia's threats and avoiding pushing it to Beijing's side. Penny Zhou, NTD News.